Don't you want devoted followers who leave their families for you, give their money to you, give their bodies to you, give up their lives for you, consider you God, and will kill for you? Don't you want to become a cult leader? Since the death of God, there's been a vacancy open. You could fill that void.
Now, I am sure everybody here knows what cults are. Groups that control other people and basically have them in a hypnosis state, and sometimes even they have these people commit crimes for them. Examples like Charles Manson, a guy who had his followers kill other people for him, or even people like Jim Jones, who ran a giant village and had all these people follow him and believe he was basically a god, and have over 900 people drink poison and all die by suicide. Now, the truth is, we could go on for hours about how cults run and different types of cults all over the world that has done terrible things. But the truth is, what about today's generation? Today, where we don't have as much of this type of stuff, because the truth is, Charles Manson and Jim Jones were in the 70s and 80s. That's why I decided we are going to try something new and dedicate this video to cults that run completely online and cause terror online. Even around the end of this video, talking about a website that has eerie feeling, and they're not, I wouldn't call them a cult, but they just give a cult vibe, and then also telling some people's stories. And also, before this video starts, I want to say thank you guys for all the support recently on my videos. My last video has done pretty well, and I'm pretty proud of it. So that's why I wanted to connect this video to the last video in a way. And also, Elijah, bro, this is for you. Thank you so much for my new camera. I'll put a video of it real quick, how good it looks. It just looks amazing on video, and I want to thank you for that. And I say, let's get right into this video. Now, before we talk about how cults work online, I wanted to talk about how this video is kind of set up. I wasn't going to get too deep into it, of course. You guys are going to see when we actually get into the video, but how this video is set up, this is not like a top 5 of the most dangerous cults on the internet. That is not what this video is at all. This is a video talking about how cults act online, how they recruit others, and then we also do talk about a type of satanic neo-Nazi cult that runs on the internet, kind of like 764 that I talked about in the last video. But if we look at the website named Psychology Today, the writer talks about how the cult leader looks for people who are very vulnerable, people who have mental issues, people who are not good at talking to people, and just have a terrible home life. And that's when this person can be their friend and talk them into joining a group where people are just like them. Now, I'm just saying that as an example. There are many different ways people get to make others join their little cult groups. Ton of ways. I'm not going to get into all the examples, but now that's just how they look for vulnerability, and they recruit people into their cult by making them look like a god. Now, if we look at below this section talking about vulnerability and recruitment, if you look into the 21st century, like reasons people are recruited to cults and even like forced into them in a way, 2 of them really caught my eye that fit very well into this video. That would be people increase time online, internet addiction. Now, if we're talking about a video about cults that run online, internet addiction and increased time online would fit pretty well into this, I would think. The website does get into other stuff like how people use mind control. That's why I brought up Charles Manson, and how these people who are, I would say, victims of the cult, the victims are very like mind controlled. They go through like a completely identity change where they are not who they used to be at all. But I don't want to get too off topic with actually explaining how these cults work, because I'm sure I can make hour-long video on the operation of how cults operate and the stuff, how they get their followers to do what they do. But let's not get off topic, and let's get straight into this first cult we're going to talk about is called Order of Nine Angles, which is very disturbing and has a lot of connections to 764. And I say let's get right into that.
A violent form of Satanism spread their hateful material online, but their influence is now being felt in the real world.
The Order of Nine Angles. I'm going to call them O9A, just to shorten it up a little bit, because I don't want to say the Order of Nine Angles the entire video. So this group is very similar to my last video, the group known as 764. They actually, I'm pretty sure 764 actually grew off of this group, and the Order of Nine Angles is, they are pretty similar to 764 in many ways. They enjoy to go on video games like Roblox, Minecraft, talk to children, and then by this they talk kids into hurting themselves and harming their own pets by blackmail with their address and threatening the SWAT, or even photos of the kids. Pretty evil stuff, like I would imagine that is pretty evil. They are also connected to a ton of other stuff, things like mass shootings. There's a ton of chat logs online you can find of these people planning mass shootings. Also, there's a video online, I cannot show this on YouTube at all. It is a older woman being abused by these people. These other members of O9A were sitting in the group Discord call just laughing, basically laughing. They like to hang out on Discord a lot, but like I said, very weird stuff. But this group did start in the 1960s. Of course, the internet wasn't as it is today, where they can completely operate online, but they did start in the 1960s in the UK. And what they would do is they were big into Satanism. Satanism and neo-Nazi is their tag. That's what they like to involve themselves in. But what is very strange, they started in the 1960s during the uprising of Satanism and the satanic movement in the 80s and around the 70s. They were more focused, not paying attention to other satanic groups. These guys were, O9A was very focused on murder. They were very about violence. A lot of these satanic groups just wanted to go against Christian beliefs and other religion beliefs, so they joined Satanism as a way, which, like I said, in this time, some of these groups did not harm anybody. O9A was strictly they wanted to cause as much terror as they can. That's why now they are on Discord and platforms where they are just straight up abusing people, getting involved in mass murders, and talking people into hurting themselves and others. It's very, very disturbing, which I do want to show some new stuff on them, just different types of stuff. And because I didn't want to get too, if you guys want to see like a deep depth into 764 and a little bit of O9A, I would go check out my last video, which I do talk about a little more. But this is a online cult-like group. They do recruit young children into this, because it's basically children doing this to children, which is very disturbing to think about. What I also thought about is, if you do look into O9A, their recruitment, how they get people into their O9A group with the Satanism and neo-Nazi stuff, they are recruiting their own victims. People have talked about that they were abused by this group, talked into cutting themselves, cutting the cultist people's names into their skin. They joined the group themselves to do this to other people, which is, like I said, very disturbing. Very uncomfortable. But I do want to sit here and talk about, I'm not going to show my camera for this part, because we're going to be looking at some new stuff of these groups actually getting arrested for this stuff, which goes very deep into and very disturbing. Look at this article right here, and this is talking about a satanic neo-Nazi group recruiting kids young as 12, and that is actually about Order of Nine Angles. And so, as you see, this is one of their logos, join your local terrorist. And I just wanted to talk about this article a little bit, because I feel like in this video, I do blab a little bit just about stuff it doesn't really like. I feel like I take too long on certain things in this video. I'll be honest. Everyone makes mistakes, but this article really sums it up for you. And so it talks about this group they're starting to find graffiti of their symbols sprayed all over, and they're starting to notice a lot. And online is really what they get into, talking about how they like to show their members, or their cult members, I guess. They like to show their members like gore videos to sensitize or desensitize them and make them not feel any emotions in a way. Yeah, so they'll show their members really like messed up gore videos. And I also wanted to show these very dark text messages from some of this person starts saying this: I want my school, and then someone said lame, based, school as a target is so overrated, and talking about the Pentagon or something like that. And then they go where to talking about the easiest way to get guns, which these guys talk about these mass murders like they're just like a trend. Like, you notice they're like lame, it's so overrated, just very disturbing stuff. And I also wanted to show this real quick. This user right here was saying, I was investigating in 2022, the FBI themselves warned the police that a minor was going to carry out a F these feds. Basically, just, I don't have much to say about that. I feel like it shows itself. I feel like it just, reads it off itself. I don't really have an opinion on that.
Since the death of God, there's been a vacancy open. You could fill that void.
This last website we're going to talk about is Heavenly People. And they have a ton of websites, but I'm not like... I just want to say this. I said this at the beginning of the video. I'm not calling this group a cult at all. I just thought their website was very eerie and creepy to me personally. Their artwork really is creepy to me. They do claim they're a religion, and they believe that basically aliens are going to come to Earth. When I first saw this website, and I saw other people talking about this, they thought this was more like... They thought this had connections to the Heaven Gates cult, which the Heaven Gates cult was a cult that believed the UFO was going to evacuate everybody, and then Earth was going to be destroyed, kind of like a doomsday cult a little bit. And then everyone ended up taking their lives in the home. This is not the same thing at all, but I was very wrong about that. That's what I thought this was. But